Hi all. So now we are going to create a process model for our user input form. Okay, so to create a new process model, we will go to new and we'll go to process model. Here we will give our process model name as add user data, and in description we will simply write like to add user data. Now our process model, we will keep the default security and we'll click on save. A new process model canvas will now open. So now here a new canvas has been opened for our process model. So here we will add all our forms and activities here. Okay, so from the left hand side, like we can select all these activities and nodes, and we will add it. Okay, to remove this message, you can just click on this message window, it will remove. Yeah, so first of all we will select drop a user input task into our process here. Okay, and we'll name it as user data. Now we will go inside our form, we will go to forms, and now in the forms we will select our interface name. So our interface name is ys underscore user data, ys underscore us data, user data. Now here it is asking us like, do you automatically want to create node inputs to match your interface inputs? Okay, so our interface was this one, so it will automatically create a node input for us. Okay, so we can click on yes for here, and if you see, automatically it has created the inputs, node inputs for us. Okay, and now we will click on OK. Now we will go to create our process variables. So why we need process variables? So if you see, if I open notepad, so in interface we use rule inputs, to store the data. So if you see here, this was our interface, and here we had used two rule inputs to store data. In the similar way, for process model as well, we use process variables to store the data. So currently if you go to properties and see, go to variables, there are no process variables currently available, so our data cannot be stored. We will click on add variable, and here it will have what is the name. So we will try to give the same name as our rule input. The rule input will get converted into our process variable. So whatever the name, we will follow the same name. First is cancel, we will write here cancel. And cancel, what is the type of cancel? So if you click on the rule input, it will give you, it is a boolean. So here we will add boolean. Okay, and we'll click on OK. So boolean has been added. Now the second process variable is user data, so we'll keep it as user data only. So user data, second variable will name it user data. And what is the type of the user data? The type of the user data is ys underscore test table. So we will use the same ys underscore test, sorry, ys underscore test table. Okay, now our process variables has been created. We'll click on OK. Now always make a habit of validating the process after every change. So here you can click on this validate button. From here it can be validated, or you can right click and validate as well. So if we are validating, we are getting one error like node user data is attended and does not have any assignee declared. So it does not have any assignment, so we will just here assign it to initiator, process initiator. Okay, again if we click on validate, this message will go away. Yeah, fine. Now we will go back to our form data, and two node inputs are there. So node input are specific to one activity or one node only. We cannot, they cannot be used into some other scripts or script tasks. So we have to map them individually for this user input task. So we'll click on cancel, and what value cancel should have when this started, it will have the same value as cancel, and we'll store into this cancel as well. Okay, so for user data, if you expand, it has all these things. So we will select our value as user data, and if we select, we don't need to map individual for this, it will automatically be saved by this user data. Fine, so this is also done. Now if the user did not submitted the form, then what will happen? So for that we will use XOR gate, and we'll use if the user cancel so it can directly go to end node, otherwise it should go to write to data store entity. So we will use write to data store entity. Okay, and we'll write here add data to db. Okay, now we will add the data to db, and if the user clicked on cancel, then it should go to directly end node. Okay, so we will directly connect here. Fine. Now if we click on validate, so we will get lots of errors like this cancel does not have any rules. Okay, let's go and resolve this issue. Let's go to cancel node, we'll go to decision. Currently there are no decision available. We'll write a new condition, and we'll write a condition that process variables are domain prefix of process variable is a PV bank. So if you click this X bar, you can see here process variables as well. So a lot of, see, A bank is for functions, it is for constants, PV is for process variables, record type, rule type bank, all these are type of the domain prefixes. We'll use PV bank. Okay, and PV bank cancel. So if cancel is true, because if you go to your interface and here if you click on cancel, so this value becomes true. So if this is true, means the form has been cancelled. So if this is true, it should directly go to the end node, otherwise it will go to the database. Okay, fine, and we'll add a label as well here. We'll add a label as cancel, we'll write no, and here we'll write a label as yes. Okay, we'll again validate, let's see. So this has gone. Now there are for data store entity, it is saying some error. Let's go back to the data store, and we'll go back to the data tab, and we'll see here data store entity. So it is saying us to select a data store entity. So the best way to refer to a data store entity is constant. So we'll go back to our database, we'll click on new, we'll create a constant for our data store entity. So here we'll write user data store entity, and it will be of type of data store entity, and our data store is AP data store, and our entity name is ys. Okay, our data store is ys data store, and our entity name is ys test table. Now we can click on create, and we'll copy our constant name from this data store entity. Okay, we'll go back to the interface, we'll go back to here. To refer to a constant, if you go to domains, you can use const bank. So we'll use const bank constant, we'll paste our constant here. Now our data store entity has been mapped. There is no need to save a data store entity, so we'll leave it. And now this constant will only refer to our data store entity. Now something needs to get saved into database, so for that we'll create a new input, and we'll write it here user data. Okay, user data. And So what is the type of the user data? So to get the type of the user data, the same type which in our interface we have used, the same type we have to use here as well, ys test table. So we'll write it ys underscore test table, and we'll save this value into our user data and save into user data as well. Fine. In outputs, no need to configure. Now let's validate it once again. So now this process model doesn't have any error. Now we'll go back to our forms. Okay, so that's fine. So now we can go to file and save and publish this. So, and we will try to debug our process and check as well, like in our database something is getting added or not. So if we say currently check in our database currently, let me delete this. Okay, so these are the two values that were initially added when I try to show you through how to add data to database. Currently there are no 3 entries. Let's try to add a third entry by our process now. Okay, so we'll click on file and we'll start the process for debugging. It will debug the process. Now it has gone to start node and it will go to user data and forms, and here we will fill our form from here. So what is my form name? For example, let me give John Smith is our sample name. John dot Smith @gmail.com. Phone number is 987. Okay, and address is like 2nd Street. And let's give some pin code as well, some sample, and we'll click on submit. If we click on submit and refresh the screen, you can see a new database would be added, a new data will be added in our database. So let's go and check back to our database. We'll refresh our database and we'll see, here you can see a new entry has been added as John Smith, this one, and 2nd Street VA 12345. So this has been added. Okay, so this was the way of adding data into our database. We'll again try to test and we'll test the cancel flow as well. So let's try to debug it. And now if we view the form from here and we'll cancel it, so we can see it is taking the cancel flow as well. Okay, so now if we go to the properties of database, you can see 2-3 tabs all are there in data management. So in data management you can click like how many days you want to delete the process. So if it is generally a sub process, you can click 0 days, or if it is a PAM process unit, so you can keep it maximum 1 day. Okay, and for alerts, like whom do you want to send the alerts, so we can use some custom, like we can send the alert to this ys admins, so we can send the alerts to them, and there are no deadlines, no start form is used. Fine. Okay, so we have seen how to make a process model to add data into a database. So that's all for now. Thank you all.